What's up, everybody? This video is unlike any other video we've ever done. It is raw. We're showing you projects in real time we're doing currently. The good, the bad, the ugly. You're going to see where we're screwing up, the mistakes we're making. We don't even have final numbers on the build yet. So we're taking you on a journey in a 3-part series to start. A 3-part series during construction and a 3-part series after we are finished. You're going to go along and see everything that is happening in this conversion as we do it. And we're going to be transparent in our actions and what we're doing to hopefully that you can learn absolutely as much as possible. I feel like it's a dynamic learning for you guys. It's content that we're not giving to you that seems curated or has been put together after the fact and I know all the answers, because right now I don't. And you get to see what we get wrong and what we don't. A little intimidating for me, I know. Let me give you a baseline here of this project. 5 acres on a main exit before you go into a downtown area. It is a building that was in bankruptcy. We got it out. We paid $4.5 million for the land and the building. We believe we'll have $4 to $5 million in construction cost. After working with several builders, we should have a final build in the next 2 weeks. So this video is out. You're watching it before I even have the final numbers. We'll do more videos on that following up. The total cost, right around a $9 million build. That's our anticipation. We are looking at 100,000 rentable square feet. Revenue that should be generated out of this square footage in our models that we have will range for 1.3 million to 2 million, maybe above, but that's a good range for right now. In a fill-up time of 3 years estimated, we believe it'll be shorter than that, but when we're putting out and modeling the numbers, we have a 3-year fill-up rate. Some of the plus sides of this building is we can do it in phases as we're building in between, which you're going to see through the series because the building's crazy. Part 1 of this 3-part series, you're going to see the outside. We're going to look at it, and I'm going to give you a walkthrough of all the things that we're doing, discussing what we like, what we don't like about the building, how we're setting up units, where we can charge more, operationally, how it'll go. Part 2 is really cool. The second video of this is just amazing because you see another half of the building. It looks like a horror movie was filmed into it. It looks like you could build spaceships. It's a crazy building and was a little intimidating at first, but it's going to be cool. We also are looking at roofing, HVACs. We're going over expenses, the whole works. Then the third part building in this 3-part series, structural details. We're working on lost space, how we make up for that, and you also get to see the beast. You're going to like that. I hope this is really useful to you and transparent, and you get to go with us on this journey. You're going to see what I screw up, what I get right, don't get right. But for us, if you could like and subscribe, that tells us that this is good information. It's worth me putting all this time and money into it. And then give me a comment on your questions, what you like about this video and what you're thinking about, because I can take those questions and then make follow-up videos for you guys so you can learn more about conversions in this industry and how things are playing along and see it from start to finish. This is what I wish I would have seen when I was starting out. I hope that it really helps you guys out and is great quality content. Like and subscribe. And now, without any further ado, we'll show you the project. Thanks. All right, so we're here at an office building that we have purchased to convert into a self-storage facility. It's very large. It's on 5 acres on the exit to the freeway right here. And there's a lot that needs to be done. It's a crazy project, so we thought we'd show you before we even get started what it looks like and kind of go along and show you what we're doing, how we're doing it, why we're doing it, and all the benefits of conversions and all the downsides of converting, especially large buildings like this. The building itself is over 100,000 square feet. It's on 5 acres of land. We will have multi-story in it, and there's multi-story in the building. The top floor, which is the 3rd floor, we'll actually keep as office space and lease it out. So we'll walk through and we can kind of take a look at what the inside looks like today. There's going to need to be a lot of demo on this building. So let's walk through. All right, so this is the front office space to the building. It's the main entrance. It will also be our showroom. There wasn't a lot we needed to change, obviously the looks and everything else, but it actually works out perfect to be a showroom for our office and be a product display center, taking customers in. So we're going to build on walls here because we're demoing out all the walls to the side, but the main entranceway will virtually stay the same. We'll give it a whole new workup and look area as of now. We're still in the planning phase. How this building worked and its acquisition worked was like this. We needed to get permitting, obviously, from the city. Because of the time frame, it was a distressed asset. The banks were trying to get rid of it. We came in and we bought it for cash, and we're basically playing the bank as we finalize our plans with the city and finalize our plans with architecture, unit outlay, everything else. After we do that, we can get a cost estimate because of bids. We have our P&Ls and we have our drafts right now, and we've been working with builders to have a cost estimate, obviously before we ever bought it, but all those things will solidify, and then in the next few weeks here, we will actually go to more of a conventional loan that we will lock it in at, and from there, we will be able to gut it, do the building, because we'll have stable financing on it for us and our investors. The opportunity with this building is twofold. So generally speaking, conversions have a lot of pros and cons. Not just because it's a conversion doesn't mean you get it cheaper. It doesn't mean that it's better by any means. In fact, lots of times conversions are way more expensive and worse off to do. This conversion allowed us access into a market that we really wanted, that was very secluded, that there wasn't a lot of building or potential for building going on, but population density was rising. So the conversion is more about the access to the location than it is the building itself. Now, the building itself provides pros, obviously. If you're doing climate-controlled indoor storage, you already have the building itself, but you pay for it. Why this doesn't usually work in a normal market, this would have cost way too much for us to buy. We bought it right a month after the lockdowns and shutdowns happened. It was already under contract for $1 million more than we purchased it for, but all the buyers disappeared. Everybody walked away from the building. We snatched it up right before financing and everything came back literally a month or two later. So it was a great opportunity in a very narrow circumstance. And that kind of goes to why you need to understand the markets that you want to be in and the opportunities that are there and how that opportunity works. We knew the price point, we knew the revenue per square foot in the market, and we had a very good idea that there was a break-even price for the building itself with everything else that had to do in the building and what that looked like. So the location, the building, all of it, we paid $4.5 million for, and that will get roughly to probably around $8 million after all said and done. There's a lot that needs to be done. So the metal work will probably come in roughly at $1 million, and we'll do a whole breakdown of costs so you can see how those play out in another video. But at this location and the revenue per square foot that we can justify from this market right now for climate controlled, we think it's a great asset and a great buy. We'll talk about the marketing later, but let's kind of focus on the building for now. So let's go into the building. All right, so one of the cons of office buildings is obviously the office space. There's lots of rooms, hallways, doors, frames. When you're looking at conversions for self-storage, generally speaking, you just want it to be empty boxes. And then we can configure the unit type and spaces as we see fit and as the market needs. With this, we got lucky because the supporting walls were very clearly defined, and all this we could just tear and get rid of. But structurally, working with engineers is really important. This building has hallways, walls, bathrooms, multiple stories, just all throughout it. This adds a major layer of complexity when looking at the value of the building. The demo itself will be hundreds of thousands of dollars, but it's not just the demo when we're looking at these buildings. It's all these lightings, it's all the duct work. It's like, where does this stuff go? Piping, everything else, because we don't need any of it in storage. We want it basically all gone. Out of a facility that is meant to house a few hundred people, right? We don't want it to house anybody. Now, there are some open areas, but for the most part, these walls, everything inside here is all going to come down. The supporting beams is what really makes this work for us, because it has supporting beams that aren't necessarily the walls themselves. We do have some firewalls back here, but at the end of the day, the vast majority of walls are not supporting, so we can tear those down, open up the space, and configure the units themselves around the supporting beams. This was really key when we were looking at the viability of this space, because we're dealing with access, right? And people are moving stuff into storage. So we need hallways, and you can't have tight rooms, corners, and hallways, because people are bringing things in on carts, and they need to be able to access their units. So that was really important. Luckily, on this building, it will work very well for what we need. We can configure our unit type around it, and demo will open up the structure to the outside walls plus supporting beams, which will give us a blank canvas in which we then can figure out unit type mix and build our performance off of that. So one of the most important things when dealing with conversion, we've talked about your ability to demo the building, turn it into a blank canvas in which we can then build the storage facility within it, if it's structurally sound, where the support beams are, and that access part. Access is important because different people use different types of units for different reasons. So the larger the units are, obviously the more stuff that needs to be stored in those spaces. So when you have a confined building, that's a really important aspect that you can't mess up with the customers. Because if the largest units are in the middle of the facility, and that's businesses, couches, tables, or anything else that they may need to bring in, they'll have to go through a labyrinth of units to get the biggest stuff into the middle. So when working with our unit layout, access is the primary driver. Obviously demand, unit type, that's the number one thing. After we get the unit type that we need and the demand in the marketplace, then it's configuring how we can best display that demand and those unit types within the building itself that customers will have the most access to and ease. This can be very complicated in a building like this. As you can see, we're dealing with lots of electronics. We do have some supporting walls, frameworks that we have to get around. It is not an empty shell like our other conversion, bankrupt Super Kmart. That was easy. You had the walls, supporting beams, and nothing else because it was designed to be open. So on this building, we'll look at our configuration based upon how the customers are going to access the building itself. Right here, we'll be able to get rid of these walls. We'll have an access point there and another one on this other side. Because we have two close access point on this part of the building, we will actually construct and put our larger units here. That'll give large double door openings that businesses can park on the outside. They'll have loading ramps, carts, and they can have easy access to climate controlled units. And then as we move more towards the inside, right, where we just came from, that inside will be much smaller units. That way that the people that are accessing them, what they're putting in there is more conducive to the distance in which they have to travel from the access point. At first this sounds simple, but we go through massive reiterations because generally speaking, you're looking at the market demand and the market demand may be not conducive with the unit type you want to build. Perfect example of that is if you're in a market where large units are the dominant demand, so that's what everybody wants, and you are building a small multi-story indoor self-storage, then you need to look at access from totally differently. Then it becomes access as far as elevators go, lifting, and generally speaking, that's more conducive to smaller units. So the building type and how you build it will depend largely on the demand and the spread of those units. We're in a market where large units are in really high demand. So a large portion, comparatively speaking to the other metropolitan areas of this facility, is going to be larger units. The ground access that provides people for doing double doors, easy, immediate roll up and pull in, that is way easier for the customers to utilize 20 by 20s plus, and we can see higher demand. The higher up you go, price per square foot generally falls on the same type of units. So what that means is on the ground floor here, once again, all of this will be taken out and demoed. I'm sure we'll figure out where these go. But the The big units here, if I have a 10 by 10 and a 20 by 20 on the ground floor, easy access, is going to sell at a premium compared to the next floor and the floor after that. Ease of the customer and access dictates pay. What we usually try to do, and we'll do on this one, phase out. We'll build out our layout here. We'll build out our unit in this floor first because of the easy access, and we'll start renting it while we're working on the other sides of the building. Now, this phase out process can be difficult, and the cities have to agree to it. We are comfortable the city will allow us to do that and agree to it because of how the building is situated. The fire walls are going to break off this side of the building from another side of the building. And the purpose of the building changed as you went through it. So I think it's an easy one for us to get passed in the city to agree with, because we can do it in a way that'll protect the customers, it'll protect their goods, and it'll be separate. That's a huge advantage. Instead of having a year-long building process, we could be renting in 4 to 5 months, and 2, we're renting the premium units. Why that's important is because the premium units will always get filled up first. They're going to be the most desirable, so we can rent those out, and then as we move up and then get to the less desirable units, there's inherently a higher demand because those are the limited units now. The bottom ones are all filled up. We're not oversupplying the market all at once with the same type of units, and we're having to discount on the way up. That's the plan with this facility as far as our lease up phase goes. But there's other challenges with this building that we're going to kind of walk through. Some of the rooms are very interesting how they're going to do it and how we're going to put in multi-floors. So let's go look at that part of the building. All right. So as you can see, starting out, there's a lot here. We haven't even gotten to the crazy part. That's in the next video coming up, which is really interesting and how we're going to overcome a lot of issues. I hope, though, as you kind of see the building and walk through, I'm just trying to be honest and open about my thought process in the project. As we come through and as we do our numbers and as we are looking at the space, we're going to show you before and afters of the planning phase, because as you're going through and planning these facilities, as we're looking at unit types, access points, office, this is a process. What we started out with is evolving as we go, and I don't even have the final project yet. It's exciting for me to have you guys along on this journey. Once again, like and subscribe, everybody, and part 2 is going to be amazing.